Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing a wonderfully versatile and handsome Zenith pilot watch, the Zenith Pilot Chronometro Tipo CP-2 Flyback, El Primero powered with the image of the 1960s and the romance of a vintage aesthetic. It's also an easy 43mm watch to wear. I'm going to give you that wide shot so you can see it in proportion, but this is one of the most compact 43s I've encountered. A 43mm IWC can feel overpowering. The Zenith case I can recommend for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. Let me pull my sleeve back out of the way. The watch is 43, but it's also reasonably slim. At 12.9 millimeters thick, it's about as thick as a Submariner, only about a third of a millimeter thicker. So if you can wear a sub under a cuff, you can wear this under a cuff. Lug to lug, it's nicely constrained. Though 51.6 is a broad span, there's actually a wonderful curvature to the lugs where they duck down tightly around the wrist at their edge, so you don't wind up with a watch that flares out over the edge of your wrist. The lug spacing is broad and handsome. Unlike the vintage Chronometro Tipo CP-2 from 1965 that inspired it, this one has a wonderful 22mm stance, so it takes a modern-sized strap and it has a broad footing on the wrist, so it doesn't appear strangled in relation to the case width. You can also see that the strap itself is a nice piece. It's an olive drab, military-inspired, oily nubuck leather. So what you're actually getting is a wonderfully textured, rich suede leather that is substantial and has a silken feel underneath the fingers. You can see there's a contrasting stitch in aviator style, and then there is a rubber underlay to separate the oils of the wrist and the moisture and the heat and the grit of the wrist from the leather, the better to allow the leather to endure over time. And one of the nice features of this patinated leather is if you scratch it, it does sort of just blend right back in as you smooth it down. It wears and it patinas without ever looking worn. That's the magic of nubuck. The pin buckle is a simple steel pin buckle for on-the-fly adjustments, and it makes sense given the retro vintage vibe of this watch. Appreciate the fact that the case uses a combination of burnishing to add texture and PVD to add color. This is what Zenith calls its aged steel. For 2017, late 2017, there were two different versions of this watch for the 2018 model year, and that 2017 for 18 debut gave us a bronze and a steel model. And whereas the bronze perhaps felt a little bit too much like a Me Too watch in an era when bronze is a bit played out, right up there with blue dials, the aged steel that you see right here feels refreshing and new. It feels exciting and adventurous, and it's as much about the texture that is burnished into the metal as it is about the color itself, and I really like this treatment. You can also see the case has a handsome flaring bevel on its profile, and that this texture, I should say, or the finishing of the bevel comes out better in the darkened case than it does in a brighter satin or polish. Now the dial is a sensational granular gradient. It starts as a sort of olive drab silver, so there's a little bit of gray, there's a little bit of silver, there's a little bit of green at the center, and then it fades to an olive drab gray-green at its edge. It's gorgeous, and it features a vintage-inspired twin-register display. Flyback chronograph, caliber 405B. You can restart with a single push of the trigger, and there's no need to stop, reset, restart. With the flyback system, pilot style, you can simply restart your timing. Now the watch also features a bidirectional pilot style bezel. So it's not a dive bezel, but for practical purposes, you can use it as a timing instrument. Line up the luminescent index with the minute hand, and now this is actually your ticket for timing something between 30 and 60 minutes, because you'll note the chronograph on the watch only goes up to 30 minutes. So this bezel will be a very useful appendage. Turn the watch over, and one of the distinctions from the first limited edition Tipo CP-2 that Zenith did a few years back, that one was launched back in 2015 and featured a solid case back with an edition number. This one features a open case back, so you can see the 31 jewel caliber 405 Bravo. Now it is a traditional lateral clutch chronograph with a column wheel, and you can see the column wheel interacting with its levers and horns, as well as the engagement and disengagement of the lateral clutch. You can see the hammers fall on the heart cams at center to reset the chronograph, and of course you can see the balance beating away at the El Primero quirky 10 beat per second rate, or 36,000 vibrations per hour. You can see both blued screws and polished screws. You could see engine turning on the bridges themselves with a linear Côte de Genève across the skeletonized winding mass, automatic winding bidirectional, 50 to 52 hour power reserve, and of course 100 meters water resistance. So though it is a pilot's inspired watch, this Flyback chronograph nevertheless is swimmable. A full service sports watch with modern spec and a distinct vintage character to it, both internally and externally. Within and without, this watch is the full package. See it and make it yours on the watch box. El Primero powered Zenith Pilot Chronometro Tipo CP-2 Flyback. Tons of lume by night on this Pilot Chronometro.